Hi KCPS, I'm Megan and welcome back today to read another book with me. You should have heard from Sarah last week about reading about informational text. So today we're going to read a different informational text and we're going to look at text features again. Because again, we want to come back to our same strategies as we approach new text. So let's review text features so we know exactly what we're looking for when we're reading our text today, polar bears. So remember, there's a lot of different text features, and does anyone know exactly why we have those? So remember, text features are there to help us as readers understand something that's not maybe in the print of the story, and it's also there to help us make it interesting and sometimes fun to read about, okay? So first, let's take a look at a diagram. A diagram is going to provide something to us as a reader that shows different parts of either an animal or an object that's in the book. Another text feature that we're going to see a lot in our story today is photographs. And these are helpful because it can tell us as readers what the subject of the book looks like, or maybe give us a better, more real world example when we're looking at the book. Text print is another text feature, and that's two different things: bold words, italic words, and then when we're looking in the text, we're going to see those and we want to pay special close attention. A lot of times those bold words or italicized words will be found in the back of our informational text where we have our glossary. And our glossary is going to give us the meaning or the definition of some of those words. Another text feature we want to pay close attention to are captions. And captions are going to give us more information about the photographs we see in the books. So sometimes those captions are going to have different information that may not be in the main body text of the book, and so we want to make sure as readers we're always reading the captions for that extra bit of information. One last feature that we want to look at is the indexed. And the index also is like our table of contents, where it's going to give us page numbers if we're looking for specific information. The index is always going to be found in the back of your book, rather as the table of contents is going to be found in the front. So when we're reading today, I want you to be keeping an eye out for these text features. Once we're done reading the book, we're going to circle back to a few of these and see how they help us as readers. Okay? We're going to get started. Polar Bears by Laura Marsh. Here's my table of contents. And so if I was doing a research project about polar bears and I wanted to know what polar bears ate, I would maybe look at my table of contents to give me information to see, where am I going to find that information? And I see here it says, what's for dinner? Page 14. That means I can go to page 14 and find that information. Now I'm going to read the book from start to finish, but we'll circle back to this again. Who am I? I'm white and furry, and I swim in the sea. The cold snow and ice are just right for me. Who am I? A polar bear. Big bears. Have you seen a polar bear in a zoo? Polar bears are big, really big. They are the biggest meat eaters on land. A polar bear can weigh as much as 7 men. A polar bear's body is built for the Arctic. These bears have thick fur to keep them warm. Polar bears have thick fat too. The fat keeps body heat in and keeps the Arctic cold out. Word bite. Arctic, the area near the North Pole where it is very cold. Powerful paws. A polar bear's paws do many things. Paws dig dens in the snow. They break the ice to find food. They also pull food out of the water. Long, thick, curved claws grab food easily. Thick pads keep feet warm. Front paws are webbed like duck's feet. This helps polar bears swim. Bumps on the foot pads keep bears from slipping on the ice. Big paws keep bears from sinking into the snow. The paws are larger than a dinner plate. What text feature do you see shown here? Think about that and we'll come back to it. Word bite, den. A den is a hidden hole where a wild animal lives. Polar bear's mother have their babies in a den. Super swimmers. Polar bears are great swimmers. They spend a lot of time in the water. Their front paws paddle. Their back legs steer. Their fat helps polar bears float. Word bite. Float, which means to rest or move in water without sinking. What's for dinner? Here's that heading. A polar bear eats other animals. Seals are its favorite food. This bear is hunting seals on the sea ice. Seals come up for air at holes in the ice. The bear waits and waits. Finally, a seal appears. The polar bear snatches it in a flash. Polar bears have good noses. They can smell a seal 20 miles away. Polar bears have good hearing and eyesight too. These come in handy when looking for dinner. This polar bear has spotted an Arctic fox. The ice melts in spring and summer. Polar bears stay with the ice when they can. They move to land when the sea ice is mostly gone. On land, they usually don't eat at all. Some bears may eat bird eggs. They may eat plants or berries. But there is not much food for polar bears on land. Bears in town. In Churchill, Canada, polar bears come to town in the fall. The ice is melting earlier each year. It is forming later too. The bears are hungry. They are looking for food. Our earth is getting warmer. There is less sea ice now. This is dangerous for polar bears. They need the ice to hunt. 7 amazing polar bear facts. Number 1, the largest polar bear ever recorded was 2,209 pounds. That's the weight of a small sports car. Number 2, polar bears have black skin underneath their white fur. Number 3, sometimes polar bears get too hot. Then they take a swim or roll in the snow. Number 4, walruses are one of the animals that polar bears are afraid of. 5, some people go on vacation to see polar bears. They ride in special buggies to stay safe. Number 6, polar bears can eat 100 pounds of seal fat at one time. That's about as heavy as 400 hamburgers. Number 7, polar bears clean themselves by rubbing their bodies on the snow. Cute cubs. Every new polar bear is special. A mother bear has babies called cubs. She digs a den in the snow. The cubs stay safe and warm in the den. The cubs drink their mother's rich milk. They grow quickly. Soon, they are big enough to leave the den. A mother polar bear teaches her cubs to hunt. She also teaches them how to stay safe. The cubs leave their mother when they are 2 years old. They are ready to learn to live on their own. Playtime. Polar bears like to play just like you. Bears wrestle with each other. They slide in the snow. They like to play games too. Sometimes a cub gets a ride from mom. These bears are off on an Arctic adventure. What in the world? These pictures show close-up views of things in a polar bear's world. Use the hints to figure out what's in the pictures. The first one is a picture of what looks like to be a bear's. Any ideas? It says hint helps find dinner. You're right. That's a bear's nose. Number 2, it says hint. You don't have one of these. What do I don't have that a polar bear has? If you said a tail, you're correct. 3, hint. A polar bear's favorite food. I think we read that a few pages ago. Does anyone know? You're correct. That's a seal. 4, Hint, keeps a bear warm. That's got to be that fur, right? Number 5, hint, built for snow, ice, and water. What does a polar bear use for those things? Their paws. Great job. Number 6, hint, polar bears are afraid of this animal. What were they afraid of? What did the text say? Correct, a walrus. And then our last page is a text feature that we already discussed. Now, this is our picture glossary. You'll notice that the end of the book has some of the terms that were throughout the text. And then it's going to give the definition or the meaning of those words. So if I'm not sure what a den is, I can look in my glossary and it says, a hidden hole where a wild animal lives. Polar bear mothers have their babies in a den. So that tells me what a den is, but it also gives me a picture if I need that reminder about what that word. Let's go back and look at another couple text features that we had in here and see if we can see how that helps us as a reader. So on page 10, we talked about this being a text feature. If you paid close attention, you should know from our anchor chart what this is. You're right, it's a diagram. So let's go back to our anchor chart. A diagram tells us as readers what different parts of an object are. So if you noticed, what was this diagram about? It talked about the different parts of a polar bear's paw. So if I'm reading the text, I may get some information about how the paw does a lot of different things. It digs dens, it helps break apart the ice. But the diagram gives me information that wasn't included in the text over here. It told me about how the claws are thick and they're long and they're curved. I wouldn't have known that if I just read the text. The diagram also talks about the bumps on the foot pads that keep the bear from slipping. That's something that I didn't know before. And what's awesome about a diagram is that it points to that part, so I know exactly what it's referring to. Another thing that it talks about is that the pads are thick and they keep the feet warm. And I know that where polar bears live, this is going to be important that they stay warm throughout that cold season. So again, this diagram gave me a lot of information and it was presented in an interesting way other than just reading the text. Let's see another text feature. Ooh, on this page, I noticed some really powerful photographs. The photograph on the left was really helpful to me as a reader to know how polar bears hunt for their food. So it talks about how they hunt for the seals on the sea ice and they come up for air and the bear waits. But I didn't know what that looked like until I saw this photograph. Looking at the photograph, I can see how the polar bear hangs his head over almost his little nose and is looking for the seal to pop up. His whole body's not over the ice, just that little piece, right? And so again, the photograph really helped me as a reader understand what was included in the text. Those are just a few of the text features that we touched on in our anchor chart, but also that were in this book. If you have an opportunity to read another informational or nonfiction book today, I want you to keep a close eye on some of the text features we talked about and see if they give you extra information. Next week, we're going to continue to read nonfiction or informational text, but we're going to be looking at a different reading strategy. I look forward to seeing everybody next Tuesday for ELA Tuesday, and I can't wait to see what Miss Sarah is going to bring to read. Have a great day, guys. Bye.